Masechet Pesachim Daf 49. We are almost finished with the third perek. Today we start off with a little bit of halacha. Then we have a famous and long agada about Ameh Haaretz. So let's begin with the Mishnah. Arba'a asar shechal liot b'Shabbat meba'adin et hakol milifnei Shabbat divrei Rabbi Meir. Okay, this is going to be the calendar actually this coming year in about 2.5 months. The 14th is going to be on Shabbat itself, right? So that the first seder is Saturday night. That means you have to get rid of the chametz on Shabbat. So Rabbi Meir says you can't do that. You can't make a fire on Shabbat and burn the chametz? And he prefers the burning method, and therefore he says do biur chametz before on Friday. Get rid of all the chametz. It sounds like he means that totally, which would mean that on Shabbat itself you would eat masa. I mean, if you have no bread, then you could still say hamotzi on masa. That would be fine for Friday night. For Shabbat morning, you're not supposed to have masa on the same day as the seder to make yourself ready for it. There are some solutions to this, like to fry the masa in some way so that you can still say hamotzi, but it doesn't violate the having the taste of masa. Okay. Anyway, that should be meir. Destroy all the chametz on Friday. Hachamim omerim bizmano. No, you destroy it on Shabbat. Obviously, you're not going to burn it, but you can do other ways. You can destroy it, get rid of it, flush it down the toilet, make it inedible, and you do it on Shabbat itself. Rabbi Eliezer bar Sadok omer tiruma milifnei Shabbat v'cholin bizman. And he makes a compromise. If it's tiruma, then destroy it before Shabbat, because tiruma only kohanim could eat it. It's hard to get rid of. But cholin, regular food, so you'll have guests over, or you'll consume it over the course of Shabbat. You may be able to consume it. If not, then obviously you'll destroy it. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer bar Sadok omer pamachat Shabbat abba b'Yavneh. So his father Sadok one time spent Shabbat in the city of Yavneh. That's the famous city which all the sages gathered after the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, and where they were able to regroup. And they had exactly this calendar, the 14th on Shabbat. Bazonin memuneh shel Rabban Gamliel. And the chief of staff of Rabban Gamliel, he was the Nasi, the Rabban Gamliel of Yavneh, and he came, and his name was Zunin. On Shabbat, he said, it's around the 11th hour or so, and he says this is now the time to destroy the chametz. And so I went with, he remembers he was a child, and he remembers he went with his father, and they got rid of the chametz on Shabbat itself. So that is a proof that that like Chachamim, that you would keep the chametz on Shabbat and destroy it on chametz. It could also be Eliezer. Okay. Next Mishnah, Haolech lishchot et pischo v'lamul et beno v'lachol seudat erusin bebet hamiv v'niskar sheyesh lo hametz betoch beto. So someone's going to do a mitzvah. Could be any mitzvah. Here's just some examples. He's going to do to prepare his korban pesach, or he has a brit milah on that day of the 14th, or there's an engagement party. Someone in his family is going to his father-in-law's house to, maybe it's his own, maybe he's getting married, maybe his sister-in-law is getting married, and so they did kiddushin and they're going to celebrate. All these are mitzvot, and while he's on the way to do this mitzvah, he remembers, I have chametz in my house. That, remember, in the closet over there, I didn't get rid of that chametz. So what should he do? If he has time that he can go back home and burn it, destroy it, and then get back to his mitzvah, then he should do that. But if he doesn't have time, then no problem. Just do bitul, right? Say, kal hamira, this is not mine. I don't care about this, that hametz. And therefore, he will not violate. So what's showing is that there's really two ways to get rid of chametz: the bidika and the burning like we do, or the bitul in one's heart, which we also do. And so therefore, don't neglect doing a mitzvah in order to physically destroy it when you can mentally destroy it. Good. להסיר מן הגויים, מן הנהר, מן הליסטים, מן הדלקה, מן המפולת, יבטא בליבו. Second category of items are emergencies that are even more important than going to do a mitzvah. So if you have to save someone who was captured by Gentiles, or he's a flooding river, or bandits came, or there's a fire, or a building collapsed, and you have to go and save the people trapped underneath, then do not even think about going home first and say, oh, I'll have time to go first and then I'll go save the guy. No, go put out the fire, and just don't worry about the chametz, just do bitul, and you don't go back. Good. And the opposite of the spectrum is someone who's going to do something that is less than a mitzvah. He's going to make a techum Shabbat. Yeah, techum Shabbat. He wants to walk further on Shabbat. He's going to make an eruv techumin. He's going to put his meal 2,000 amot outside, but not because he has to do a mitzvah on Shabbat. Like if on Shabbat he was going to do a brit milah, and that was outside the city, so that would be for mitzvah. But here he's not making the eruv tavshilin, the eruv techumin for that. He's going to, because he's gonna visit a friend or go study with someone. So it's not for a specific technical mitzvah. In that case, he should not go through with his eruv. Rather, he should go home immediately and destroy the chametz. So therefore, we see three levels. If he's doing something that's optional, then go home and destroy the chametz. It's best to get rid of it, to actually get rid of it physically. If it's a mitzvah, then it depends. If you have time, go home and do it. If there's no time, go do the mitzvah. If it's an emergency to save lives, then go and save lives and do bitul only in your mind. Good. Similarly, someone who left Jerusalem, they were in Yerushalayim and they were taking part in a korban that they can eat, but it has to be in the walls of Yerushalayim. You're not allowed to take, let's say, for korban Pesach or korban Todah. You have to eat it within the walls of Jerusalem. You're not allowed to take it out. Let's say he goes out of Jerusalem and then remembers, oh, I have in my bag, I still have some meat from the Basar Kodesh. So the best thing to do is he should go back to the Bet HaMikdash, and then he would burn it. There's a special spot where they burn Kodashim that are pasul. Im avar sofim sorfo b'mkomo. However, if we went too far already, if he already went to Sofim, probably Harat Sofim, where the Hebrew University is, it's called that because it has Mount Scopus. You can see, right, that beautiful view of the Harabait. Here's what it looks like from there, right? Other people say it's a different place. Anyway, if he went that far, it could be a specific place, or it could be anywhere, because what if you're going in the other direction? Maybe the point is, as long as you can still see Jerusalem, so then you're close enough to go back. But if you're that far already, then the rabbis don't require you to return. Rather, sorfobim komo, right there on the spot, wherever you are, burn it there. But if you're closer, then you should return to the Bet HaMikdash and burn it in the place designated there with from wood that was designated for burning these consecrated items that became pasul. Good. Now, this was a question of how the distance. Now we're saying how much of food that you're holding, that makes a difference also. If it's just a little bite, so that's not so significant. So you don't have to go back for just a little piece of meat that was sacrificial. So machloket. Rabbi Meir says both for hametz. In other words, have chametz back in the house. But let's say it's less than a betzah. So it's not such a significant amount, just to bitul. I don't have to go back for less than a kabesa. I only have to go back if it's a kabesa or more. Similarly with meat of kodashim, I only have to return to Jerusalem if it's a kabesa or more. If it's less than that, then it's not a significant amount. So just burn it on the spot. He's more stringent. He says both for chametz and for kodashim, one kezayit would be the amount that you have to go back and destroy it, and go back to your house for chametz, or go back to the Bet HaMikdash for kodashim. Hachamim omerim besar kodesh bekazait. He makes a distinction. If it's sacrificial meat, that's kazait. Sacrificial meat is very, very stringent, and we want to make sure to dispose it in the proper way. That would be a kazait. Hametz, on the other hand, you could always do bitul. So as there's less of a stringency there. If it's less than besa, then just do bitul, and you don't have to return to your home. All right, that was the Mishnah. Now the Gemara is going to ask a question. Urminhu, we have a contradictory source. We have Braita. Haholech lechol seudat erusin bebet hamiv ve'lishpot shevitat reshut yachzor miyad. So this says go back immediately to remove the leaven. So in other words, we saw this regarding if you're doing making an eruv techumin for an optional, right? That's not so important, so go back home immediately. This baraita includes going to an engagement party. I'm calling engagement party. It's really edusin is already like the official first step of the marriage. So the marriage party is also like something optional, not so important to go to the engagement party. Rather, go home and burn the chametz. This is a contradiction. In the Mishnah, we said that Seudat Erusin is a mitzvah, and therefore, if you don't have time to go home and get there in time for the party, then you should go to the party. It's a mitzvah. And here we're saying, no, it's the shoot, not so important. More important to burn than the chametz, than go to the engagement party. So which is it? Amar Rabbi Yochanan lakashya, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef. That was actually a machloket between these two Tanaim. The Tanya Seudat Erusin Reshut. Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef Omer mitzvah. So Rabbi Yehuda says that the party for Erusin is optional, not so. It's not a mitzvah in and of itself. To have a party. I mean, we make a party after the nisuin. That's a seudah, chatan vekala. But this is just for the kiddushin. So he says not so important. So he would be the author of the baraita. Rabbi Yosef would be the author of our Mishnah, who considers that a mitzvah. Good. Vashta, the Amar Rav Chisda, but we have a second answer. Because Rav Chisda said, "Machloket b'suda sheniya, ava b'suda rishona dibra kol mitzvah." This machloket here between these two Tanaim, that was only talking about a second engagement party. But the first engagement party, everybody agrees, is a mitzvah. Apparently, right when they did kiddushin, they'd have one party, and then afterwards they had other gifts that were given, a bridal shower, swanny, that the groom would give other gifts. So that's less important to go there, and that's the machloket is regarding that second party. So we could say that the Mishnah is talking about the first party, that's mitzvah, and the Baraita is talking about the second party, which is not a mitzvah, which not a mitzvah according to Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, afilu tema hava ha Rabbi Yehuda. And therefore we can say that both the Mishnah and the Baraita are according to the Yehuda, and was talking about the first party, which is mitzvah, and the second one's talking about the Baraita talking about the second party, which is optional. Okay, good. Tanya, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, ani lo shamati ela seudat erusin, aval lo sivlonot. Amar lo Rabbi Yosef, ani shamati seudat erusin v'sivlonot. This baraita is just a source for what we just said here. That Rabbi Yehuda says, I only heard that the party for the erusin, for the kiddushin, the first party, that's a mitzvah. But the second one, sivlonot, which is just extra gifts. This is a Greek word that comes from symbolon, meaning other gifts. That one is not important, not a mitzvah. And Rabbi Yosef says, no, I heard a tradition that both this and that are considered mitzvah to go to both of those parties. All right. Next, Tanya Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kol Suda Shena Shel Mitzvah, En Tamid Chacham Rashai Lehanot Mimenna. So now we get into the Agadah. Now, but since you mentioned different kinds of seudot, some parties are for mitzvah. Okay, that's wonderful to go to. Parties that are not for a mitzvah, why are you spending time and money to party if not to celebrate a mitzvah? And therefore, any meal, any party that's not for a mitzvah, a Tamid Chacham should not derive benefit from it, right? This is life is not just about partying. It's about studying Torah, spending time, doing good things, doing mitzvot. And if it's a mitzvah party for a mitzvah, good. If not, then don't waste time on it. Good. Kegon mai. For example, what would be an example of a seudah that's not from mitzvah that Talmid Chacham should stay away from? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, kegon bat kohen liYisrael ubat Talmid Chacham le'am haaretz. Okay, don't think that this is just random parties that people make in the summer. Those also have a goal that people should meet if they're single. But okay, let's say people that are already married, just partying for no reason. That's not the only example of a party that you should stay away from, even if it's an engagement party or a wedding party. But it's if it's between Bat Kohen being married to Israel, that's not considered a mitzvah, right? Because Bat Kohen should marry a Kohen. Also, a Bat Talmid Chacham should make sure to marry another Talmid Chacham and don't marry an ignoramus, an Am Haaretz. Damar Rabbi Yonatan, Bat Kohen Israel, en zivugan ole yafeh. If a Bat Kohen marries Israel, then the marriage is not going to go well. Maihi, what do you mean it's not going to go well? What's going to happen? Amar Rav Chisda, o almana, o gerusha, o zera en la. Either she's going to be widowed, he's going to die early, or they're going to be divorced, or they won't have children. Where did they get all this from? The pasuk in Vayikra, which is bat kohen ki tiyeh almana ugrusha vezera en la. This is a halacha. It's just saying that if bat kohen ends up not having marrying a Yisrael, while she's married to Israel, she cannot eat terumah. But if for whatever reason she goes back to her father's house, she can eat terumah again. And giving different instances, it says 3 examples: almana, gerusha, zera, and la. So the Agadah is taking this halacha and using it, understanding it as various warnings or negative outcomes that will happen if a bat kohen marries Israel. Bematnita tana kobraha or kobarto or mebiato lide aniyut. All right, either one, the husband or the wife will die early and have to bury the other. Other one will have to bury him, her, or they will come to be poor. Okay, this is already quite amazing that the Kohanim should marry families of Kohanim. This is not, halacha. It's not a halacha that one must. Obviously, one can, but good advice. However, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, according to one reading of the Dead Sea Scrolls, there is a halacha that they had that a Kohen has to marry a Kohen, right? They learned it from, since we're all called Mamlechet Kohanim, V'goy Kadosh, and so just like a Jew who is Mamlechet Kohanim cannot marry a non-Jew, so too within Kohanim, they must marry a Kohen. They would consider a Kohen marrying Israel to be like zinut, like arayot, right? Like marrying out of the faith. Okay, so the rabbis don't have that level of making of a halacha, but they do strongly encourage it, as you can see here. Okay, now ini, hold on, we have a contradiction. Someone wants to get rich, then you should marry into a Kohen family, right? And all the more so if it's a Kohen family and a Talmid Chacham family, then they will get rich. So according to this, it's a good idea to marry a Kohen family. No, this thing Rabbi Yochanan was talking about, a Kohen. One family is a Kohen, one family is are Talmid Chachamim. Those are fitting to go together. However, a Kohen with Am Haaretz, that's what we were talking about before, and that's what will come to no good. Okay, so this is quite an amazing statement because it is preserving the hierarchy. Kohen family is more important. Don't mix it with Am Haaretz, but then it's adding on that sages, Torah scholars, are also at the same level as Kohanim, right? So although one is based on genealogy and to be a Talmid Chacham is based on a meritocracy, so nevertheless, the rabbis are considering someone who's Talmid Chacham to also be worthy, and if you put those together, then the outcome will be good. Great. Now, a few stories of sages that married into Kohanim. Some of the stories are good, some of them are not so good. So Rabbi Yoshua married a Bat Kohen, halash, and became sick. Amar la nichale laharon dedbak bezar'eh dave le hatana ki ana. Says apparently it was not satisfactory to Haron that I should be part of his descendants and have a son-in-law like me. Okay, that's Rabbi Yoshua saying this, one of the greatest of all the Tanaim. He did not feel himself to be worthy. Ravidi barabin neseb kanta. But this is a good story. Ravidi married a bat Kohen. Nafkumine tere bene simiche, and he had two rabbis as sons. Rav Sheshat bered Ravidi, Rabbi Yoshua bered Ravidi. Amar Papa ila nasebna kanta la it'ateri. The Papa was wealthy, and he says, because I married a bat Kohen, that's why I became wealthy. So those are positive stories. Amar Rav Kana ila nasebna kanta la gelai. Rav Kana has a negative story. He says, because I married bat Kohen, that's why I was exiled. He was originally from Bavel, and he was forced to go to Eretz Yisrael. The circumstances of his story are told elsewhere, that there was an informer to the government, and Rav Kana had to stop the informer. But because of that, he was in trouble with the authorities, and he had to run away from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. So he was a forced exile. Wait, why are you complaining? So you're in Israel. Israel's also Makom Torah, right? So you don't get exiled to the middle of nowhere. It's nice that you were able to live in Eretz Yisrael. He says, yeah, la gelai kid gali inashe. Yeah, but I wanted to go with my own free will. I don't want to be exiled like the way people are exiled refugees from a government. So this was negative. And he says, this is because I married a bat Kohen. So he did not feel himself that he was worthy. This is a negative outcome. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, kol hanehene meseudat harashut lesof goleh. Now, since we're talking about going into exile, anyone again who benefits from a meal that's not for a mitzvah will end up going into exile. Shneimar Amos pasuk and Amos v'ochelim karim mison v'agalim mitoch marbek. Marbek. Those who eat these fat lambs and calves from the stall, what's going to happen to them? They're going to go be the first to go to exile. They're just spending all their time and energies on materialistic enjoyment. Tenor Rabbanan, kol tamid chacham hamarbe seudato bechol makom, sof maharib et beto. A tamid chacham who goes and parties everywhere he goes, he's always looking for the next feast. In the end, he will destroy his family. Ume'almen et ishto, and widow his wife. Umiatem et gozalav, and his chicks, his children will be orphans. V'talmudo mishtakech mimenu, he'll forget his learning. Umachalokot rabot ba'ot alav, they'll be involved in lots of controversy and disputed v'arav enam nishmain, and no one will listen to his teachings. Umechalel shem shamayim, he will desecrate God's name. V'shem rabo v'shem aviv, the name of heaven, the name of his rabbi, the name of his father. Ve'gorem shem ra'lol banav v'libnei banav ad sof kol hadorot, and give a bad name himself, his children, grandchildren, till all the rest of the generations. All right, they're not holding back on this guy. Why? What's so bad? Okay, so he joined some parties. This is not befitting a Talmid Chacham. First of all, he's going to waste his money in doing this. Maybe he'll be a drunkard, and we know what happens if people are drunkards and they come home, and the way that affects their family life. And if he's also a Talmid Chacham, that just brings a bad name on everything that he is doing and teaching. And people not only look at his bad behavior, but they attribute his bad behavior to his rabbi, his family, and it causes Chilul Hashem as well. So Talmid Chacham, nobody should go and have parties, drunken parties for no reason, but especially Talmid Chacham will bring terrible shame upon the Torah and his family for it. Maihi, what are people going to say about him and his descendants? Here's some nicknames that people will say. Amar Abaye karule bar mechim tanure. Oh, this is the son of one who eats ovens. In other words, always he has the oven on to prepare food for all the parties that he's making. Rava Amar bar marakid be kube. This is the son of someone who dances at inns, at bars, right? He dances at bars. People would go and entertain the other bar guests so that they would get free drinks. So he's always entertaining people. He licks the bowls, he licks the plates clean. He's son of someone who folds his garments, and because he's always drunk, so he doesn't get home to sleep. He folds his garments and sleeps wherever he is there. So this brings bring terrible shame to someone. So stay away from those parties that are not for a mitzvah. Better to sell everything you have to get a bride price so that you can marry, so that his daughter can marry a Tamid Chacham. Why? Why is it so important to marry into a family of Tamid Chacham? Shemet or Goleh, if the husband dies or is forced into exile, then at least the wife's family will bring up the child and will grow to be a Tamid Chacham, will be a good influence around him. And otherwise, you say, oh, I'll marry this person, but I'm going to take care of my children. I'll teach them the right way. You never know. If the husband dies or goes into exile, then they're going to end up growing as an amaretz. And so as a backup plan, you want to make sure to marry into a good family. Better to sell everything you have if you need to get married and marry the daughter of a sage, or and similarly to marry off your daughter to a sage. If you have a beautiful grapevine, then you join it together with other grapevines and you get something beautiful. This is quoted a lot in wedding ceremonies. When you have two families that are Kohanim or two families that are Talmidei Chachamim, right? Then you say this. If you marry a family of sages to a family of ignoramuses, then that's like taking beautiful vines and join it together with a seneh. This is good, a Parashat HaShavua coincidence, right? We have the seneh is a prickly bush that doesn't look nice, lowly bush, ve'eno mitkabel, and that is not an acceptable outcome. Good. So again, right, sell everything you have to raise money to acquire a proper family for your daughter, for your son. Let's say you looked around and you couldn't find a daughter of a scholar. Then you should find a daughter of the Gedolei Hador. Okay, this seems curious because the way we use Gedolei Hador, we think Gedolei Hador are the greatest scholars, the greatest poskim, that Asher Yeshiva. So this Gedolei Hador should be the highest level. But you see, Gedolei Hador in those times meant not the greatest scholar, but rather the greatest do-gooder, a person who does a lot of mitzvot, someone who's involved in communal leadership, and giving tzedakah. So the Talmid Chacham is the highest. Someone who does a lot of good, but not a scholar himself, is second best. If you didn't find, the head of the community, then get the family of the president of the synagogue. That's third best. If you couldn't get marry into a family of the president of the synagogue, then marry into the family of the president of SBH. If not, then you find someone who's a school teacher, right? The father is a school teacher. They're not Talmid Chacham, but they know Aleph Bet, they know Ta'amim, they know Mikra. Okay. But under any circumstances, do not marry your son off to the daughter of Amei Haaretz. Mipnei shehen sheketz unshotehen sheretz b'notehen omer arush shocheb im kol behema. Whoa, this is tough, right? They are like creepy animals, vermin. Their wives are like creepy animals, and their daughters. Anyone who sleeps with their daughters, if you marry and sleep with them, it's like lying with an animal. Wow. Okay, obviously this is talking about like real low lives, people whose lifestyle is has no no decency, no regard for or respect for anything. So people that really live like beyond the pale of society, you want to make sure not to get mixed up with them. Tanya Rabbi Omer, Am haaretz asur lechol basar behema, shenemar zot torat behema va'of. כל העוסק בתורה מותר לאכול בשר בהמה ועוף. כל שאינו עוסק בתורה אסור לאכול בשר בהמה ועוף. Okay, so Amei Aretz are not allowed to eat meat. Why? Because the pasuk says Zot Torat HaBehema. So in the Pshat, Torat means these are the laws regarding the animals that are kosher and birds that are kosher and not kosher. But since it says Torah together with these, so someone who involves himself with Torah may eat meat and birds. Someone who does not may not. Why? Well, one reason might be that if you're an ignoramus and you don't know the laws of which animals are kosher, how to do shechita, so you're going to come to bad. Only someone who knows the laws should do it. Or second, this is kind of a reward. If you're someone who studies Torah, they deserve to enjoy from the natural world. Someone who is himself living had lifestyles like an animal, they're not any better than animals, so they don't deserve to be able to enjoy the meat of animals and birds. אמר רבי אלעזר, עם הארץ מותר לנוחרו ביום הכיפורים שחל להיות בשבת. You're allowed to stab an עם הארץ on Yom Kippurim. On Yom Kippur, that's also Shabbat. Go and stab him. So the student said, Rabbi, why'd you say stab him? Why didn't you say do shechita? Maybe a little nicer language. זה טעון ברכה וזה אינו טעון ברכה. No, shechita on an animal, at least you say a beracha. This Amei Aretz, when you stab him, doesn't even get a beracha. It's even worse, lower than an animal. Okay, what does this mean? So some of the Mefashim take it literally and say, well, why? How are you allowed to kill a person on Shabbat? First of all, killing a person, what they do. So maybe must be talking about that Amei Aretz was going to do an Avera. He was going to murder someone or to rape someone. And therefore, you have to kill him in his tracks to stop him from doing that terrible sin. And that's why you're allowed to do it on Yom Kippur and Shabbat and all that. Okay, others take it not literally, not that literally you're going to kill him, but it's just a way of saying they are bad influence, stay away from them. But certainly this is a very witty remark, right? That they're too good to do shechita on them because there's no silver line. You can't say a beracha on it. אמר רבי אלעזר עם הארץ אסור להתלוות עמו בדרך שנאמר כי היא חייך ואורך ימיך על חייו לא חס על חיי חברו לא כל שכן. You're not allowed to walk together with an Amei Aretz on the road alone because we say the Torah is our lifeline. That's the source of our life. This person does not study Torah, does not follow the ways of Torah. So you see, he doesn't care about his own life. So for sure, he's not going to care about someone else's life. And therefore, you go with this. This is, we're talking about someone who's really thug, and you can't trust him with your life to even be alone with the person. אמר רבי שמואל בר נחמני אמר רבי יוחנן עם הארץ מותר לקוראו כדג. אמר רבי שמואל בר יצחק ומגבו. Right, each rabbi is one-upping the other. Says you can slice him open like a fish. And he says, not only that, you can even stab him in the back and kill him right away with a spinal cord. Okay, obviously, Amar is not talking about someone who doesn't do daf yomi, right? It's not anyone who's not the greatest sage. We're talking about people who really are beyond beyond civilized society and who are dangerous. Tanya amar Rabbi Akiba כשהייתי עם הארץ אמרתי מי ייתן לי תלמיד חכם ואנשכנו כחמור. This is Rabbi Akiva, right? The famous story that he became a Talmid Chacham later in life when he was 40. But when he was young, he wasn't only not religious, he was anti-religious. And he said, I wish someone would bring me a sage and I would bite him like a donkey. And the student said, wait, why'd you say like a donkey? Why don't you say like a dog? Usually we think of, being bitten by a dog. רבי אמוד ככלב, אמר להן, זה נושך ושובר עצם, וזה נושך ואינו שובר עצם. No, a dog, when it bites, it just takes the flesh, doesn't break the bone. I want to be like a donkey that is such a strong bite, it even breaks the bones. I want to break their bones. Okay, תניא היה רבי מאיר אומר, כל שהמשיא ביתו לעם הארץ, כאילו כופתה, umanicha lifnei ari. Someone who marries off his daughter to an am haaretz, it's as if he's tying her up and leaving her in front of a lion. Ma'ari dores ve'ochel ve'en lo boshet panim, af amaris makeh bo'el ve'en lo boshet panim. Just like a lion mauls and eats, it has no shame. It doesn't even kill its prey first. It just goes and eats from it. So too Amaretz will beat his wife and have relations with her against her will, and he has no shame. Sadly, we do see real lowlives even today that abuse their own family. And so this is, really good advice to make sure that our families are good families and wouldn't do this. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer omerim malei anu serichin lahem lemasau matan hayu horgin otanu. This is the only reason why we are kept alive as us rabbis, is because they need us to trade, right, for business. Well, we're useful as customers, but if not, they would actually kill us. Tana de Bichia, Kol Asik Batorah Lefnei Ha'aretz Kilu Bo'el Arusato Befanav. Shneimar Torah Sivala Moshe Morasha Al Tikre Morasha Ela Meorasa. Anyone who studies Torah in front of a Ha'aretz, it's like a person is having relations with his bride in front of him. In other words, taking something precious and that's supposed to be private, a private moment, and you're displaying it in a shameful way. Why? Because the Torah says Torah is our inheritance, morasha. A play on words says morasha is like meorasa. It's showing the intimate relation that we feel with the Torah, that we study Torah. This is something that like we are engaged to it. And if you study Torah in front of am haaretz, I'm not just going to make fun of it, denigrate it. They're not just, they're not just not religious. They're anti-religious. You can make fun of everything, and then you are displaying in a shameful way. That the hatred of these Amei towards the rabbis is greater than the enemies of Israel towards Israel. Right? They're the worst anti-Semites are sometimes within the Jewish nation itself. And their wives are even worse. Tana, Shana, Uferesh, Yoter mi kulan. And even worse than them, someone who was once a scholar and went off the derech, those people are the truly worst enemies. That's also true historically. The greatest enemies, like the Pablo Cristiani, the Christians who disputed with the rabbis and attacked the Talmud and called it anti-Semitic. These were all once Jews who became apostates, and they used all their knowledge, their insider knowledge, against their own people. Okay. Tenora banan, almost done. Shisha de barim emuru be'amei haaretz. En mosrin lahen edut. En mekabalin mahem emenu edut. You cannot appoint amei haaretz to be a witness and don't accept testimony from them. If they saw, a crime or something, they're not trustworthy. En megillah mesod, don't trust them with a secret. Ve'en manin notan apotra pos hayatomim. Don't make them a person, a steward in charge of the money of orphans. Not trustworthy. En manin notan apotros al kupasho sedakah. Don't make them make them the head of the Bikur Cholim to give us tzedakah. And don't walk with them on the road. So that's 6. And some people say you also, if you find something that they lost, you don't have to announce its return. You don't have to return the things that they lose. בתנא זימנין דנפק מינה זרעה מעליה והחלה שנאמר יכין וסדיק ילבש. Now Tanna Kama that said 6 and not the last one, he obviously thought that you do return their lost property. Well, why? I mean, we saw above that all the terrible things they're supposed to do to them. Why does he think that you should return their lost property? He says because of the pasuk. Yachin, sometimes you prepare something, besadik yilbash, and later on a righteous person will wear it. And so you never know. Maybe this person who's amaretz now and is evil person now, maybe they'll be better. Maybe their children or grandchildren will be better, and therefore this money that you're returning to them will one day be used for good. This is one of the answers that Rambam has for Sadiq Vedallah. Sometimes you see an evil person in a beautiful mansion. So why does he get all that? Oh, he's built the mansion so that one day a Sadiq will go and be able to occupy it. Okay, so this is the end of the Agadah regarding the Ameh Haaretz. A lot of very, very harsh statements, and I'm afraid YouTube's going to take this down for all these inciting violence. Okay, don't do this. This is not nothing. None of this is halakha l'maaseh, right? The rabbis are just expressing their distress about the relationship between different parts of the Jewish community. What's very interesting here is that these are only found in the Talmud Bavli. If you take any one of these and trace its parallel or its source in the Talmud Yerushalmi or in Midrashei Halacha from Eretz Yisrael, you don't find that they are negative. Which seems to show a social reality. If you want to know about the history of what was the communal life like, it seems that in Eretz Yisrael, the rabbis and the common people got along well. And it's in Bavel specifically that the rabbinic leadership and the common people had a tremendous amount of tension that is expressed in these extreme statements. Okay, and now we're going to get back to a little bit more halacha. V'chen mi sheyasa, we mentioned someone who leaves Jerusalem and then realizes that he has some sacrificial meat with him. And so we saw that there's a machloket. According to the Rabbi Meir, it's a kabesa. Rabbi Yehuda says you have to even go back if it's a kizait. Rabbi Yehuda was more machmir. So the Memrad, Rabbi Meir sabar kabesa hu dechashiv, Rabbi Yehuda sabar kazait namechashiv. So we infer from this that according to Rabbi Meir, kabesa is an important amount, and less than that, not so important. Rabbi Yehuda says no, even a kizait is also important. That's what it seems. What I mean, but we have a contradictory source. Ad kamahim is a menin. Regarding zimun, if you say Birkat Hamazon, how much do you have to eat of bread in order to count for a zimun? So we say ad kizait. Rabbi Yehuda omer ad kabesa. The first opinion, we assume is Rabbi Meir, it's anonymous, says kizait. And Rabbi Yehuda says kabesa. That's the opposite. So Rabbi Meir regarding sacrificial meat says you have to go back for a kabesa, but for Birkat Hamazon says kizait. And Rabbi Yehuda the other way around, kizait, and here he says kabesa. So this is strange. So two answers. Amar Rabbi Yochanan mukhlefet hashita. Rabbi Yochanan says reverse the opinions. Maybe in the Baraita, reverse the opinions and make it fit. It must have been transmitted wrong. Abaya amar leolam lo tepuch. No, you don't have to. We can explain the distinction. Hatam bekra'e pelige. Regarding Birkat Hamazon, they're arguing about the interpretation of a verse. Here, regarding returning the Kodashim, they're arguing about a logical reasoning. Let's explain. Hatam b'kra pelige, Rabbi Meir sabar, v'achalta zo achila, v'sabata zo shetiya, v'achila bechezait. When the pasuk says v'achalta v'sabata uberachta, so that eating is referring to food. Sabata is referring to drink. And so when it says food, so when do you have to say uberachta? When do you have to say Birkat Hamazon? Whenever you eat or drink. So eating, how much is eating? Eating and drink. How much is eating? Eating, the universal definition of eating is kizait. So anytime you have a kizait, you ate. Therefore, uberachta. Therefore, you have to bless and say Birkat Hamazon. Rabbi Yehuda sabar b'achalta v'sabata. He doesn't think vesabata is referring to drink. He thinks vesabata is an adjective describing the achila. V'achalta is so food. If you eat enough that you are full, satiated, then you have Birkat Hamazon. So how much food do you need to eat to be a full meal and satiated? That's a kabesa. So because they have a different understanding of the word vesabata, that's why they have a different understanding of what's a kabesa or kezait for Birkat Hamazon. So that's a local controversy regarding the pasuk of Birkat Hamazon. It has nothing to do with any other halacha. Here, halacha, hacha, bisfara pelige. But regarding how much sacrificial meat do you have to, if you took it out of Jerusalem, do you have to go back and return to burn it properly? There, that has to do with reasoning. So what should be the amount? What's an important amount of meat, of food? Well, kabesa. Kabesa is enough that if it's tameh, it will make other food tameh. So that should be the standard amount that becomes significant that would be problematic and you have to go back and return. No, it doesn't go by how much becomes tameh, but rather how much would be prohibited to eat if you ate that much. And that amount is a kezait. So therefore, you should go back and return for a kezait. And tomorrow we will actually finish the perek and begin the fourth perek. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'Amen.